ओम स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्म स्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Just now I cited a shloka. We are all familiar. You are all devotees. Most of you are devotees of Shri Ramakrishna. So you are all familiar with this shloka. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma sarupine avatar varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namah. This shloka was composed by Swami Vivekananda himself. There was a disciple of Shri Ramakrishna, Navagopal Ghosh, and he had constructed a small temple with a marble image of Shri Ramakrishna, and he invited Swami Vivekananda to dedicate the temple to Shri Ramakrishna. So Swami Vivekananda went along with his brother disciples and his disciples and other devotees to the house of Navagopal Ghosh. And when he was installing Shri Ramakrishna, at that time, the wife of Navagopal Ghosh, she requested Swami Vivekananda, please pray that Shri Ramakrishna may stay here in this temple for good. Then Swamiji smiled and jokingly said, our Lord was born in a small hut. He lived in a small hut. And you have prepared a beautiful marble house for him. So, what is the reason that he will not stay here? Surely he will stay here. Then he sat down on the seat, asana. And before starting puja, worship, suddenly a shloka came out from his lips. And this is the shloka. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma sarupine avatar varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namah. O Lord Shri Ramakrishna, you have incarnated yourself and you have come here, you incarnated yourself to establish dharma, sthapakaya cha dharmasya. And which dharma? All religions, because you are embodiment of all religions. Not one particular sect or not one particular religion. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma sarupine. You are the embodiment of all religions. Avatar varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namah. Avatar. You are the best among all the incarnations. Now let us understand why Swami Vivekananda calls him Avatar Varishtha. It seems Swamiji always declined or discouraged fanaticism, and in a way he is becoming fanatic. He says Avatar Varishtha. What does that mean? Does it mean that other incarnations are inferior and he is the greatest incarnation? And on the one hand he is telling that one should not have fanaticism. On the other hand, he is telling, my God, Sri Ramakrishna is the greatest incarnation. So why does he call that Avatar Varishtha? We would like to see that. If time permits, I will analyze that thing. But here we are coming to this point. Today's subject is Sri Krishna and Ramakrishna. And both were incarnation. What is an incarnation? Avatar. Avatar word comes from the word Avataranika. In Sanskrit there is Avataranika. What is Avataranika? Avataranika means staircase. There is a sort of an imaginary setting. The devotees call upon the Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. But Lord is not responding. And then the devotees retort, you are not saying anything. Then may we conclude that you do not exist? If you do not reply, then we will take it for granted that you do not exist. But the Lord does not say anything. Then the devotee says, Lord, we want to see you. And then the Lord has to speak. He said, you see, if you want to see me, then here is, I have already through the scriptures, I have told how to obtain me or how to have God realization. Here are various methods, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, so many methods are there. Spiritual practice. You will have to make spiritual practice. And then, by spiritual practices, you will obtain me. The devotees say, there is nothing new that you are telling like this. We also know that by practicing the spiritual disciplines, we can attain God, we can see you. But just give a reply. We are all here, millions of people. When shall we have your vision? When shall we have your darshan? Please tell us, when shall we have darshan? Now, Lord was in fix. He cannot tell because it will become committal. He said, if you take up the ladder of spiritual practices, go on spiritual practices, and you will realize at one point of the time. But when we shall all realize you, when we shall all see you, when we shall all have your darshan? Now the Lord was silent. So, you are not able to reply? Yes, I am not able to reply. In that means you have been defeated? Yes, I am defeated. So now, if we tell you the answer, then you have to do whatever we tell you. Then the Lord says, okay, I have accepted the defeat. If you give the right reply to this question, then I will do whatever you like. Then these devotees, they say, the bhaktas say, you see, you tell us that we take up the ladder of spiritual practices and we can all have your darshan. But we are all millions of people here and we want to reach you, we want to have a darshan, and if you go one by one, after all, ladder is not very big, not very wide. So one by one we are going. How much time it will take? You are not able to reply. Well, we give you the reply. Now, by the ladder, if somebody can go up, isn't it? Yes. But can someone go down by the same ladder? Of course. So this is our reply. We are millions of people sitting here wanting to have your darshan, and one by one we will go. There will be infinite time by which we will reach. But you are there up there. You come down by the ladder, by the same Avataranika, and we will have darshan immediately. All of us together. And then the Lord has to accept the defeat and says, okay, I'll come down. So when the Lord comes down through the ladder, that is Avataranika, he becomes incarnate, avatara, and that is incarnation. And then Bhagavan Shri Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, the 4th chapter, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujameham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. O Arjuna, whenever there is the vice prevailing in the world, vice prevails, vice increases, and the virtues they subside, dharma or the virtues subside, and adharma gets increased, the vices increase in the world, in the society. At that time, I incarnate myself, I come down from the same ladder, Avtaranika, as a human being, and I play the divine lila, the divine play of a human being. Why? To establish dharma, to establish righteousness in the world again, once again, to bring the balance. Sarva dharma. Then what I do? That whenever the virtues are subsiding and the vices are coming up, I once again establish dharma, and dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I incarnate myself in every age for establishing that religion, righteousness, making that balancing of the society, and this is one important reason for which I incarnate myself. And second, paritranaya sadhunam. Those who are virtuous people, I try to protect them. Vinashaya dushkritam. And those who are evil-minded, I kill them, I destroy them. Vinashaya dushkritam. Dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I incarnate myself. Now, this is how Sri Ramakrishna also came to this world to establish dharma. And we find the historical background, the backdrop in which, what was the situation that was prevailing? We know the situation that was prevailing at the birth of Sri Krishna. Kansa, the king, was making all sorts of atrocities. Duryodhana and other Kauravas, evil-minded people were there, and they were making all sorts of atrocities, and the general public, the people, they were all afraid. And at that time, Sri Krishna had to come, kill Kamsa, and made Pandavas to kill Duryodhana and all the other evil-minded people, and he re-established dharma. So Krishna came, the Lord Krishna came to this age. In this age, they say in Dwapara. So Sri Ramchandra came in Treta, Dwapara, Sri Krishna came, and in our own age, one who was Rama, one who was Krishna, came in the guise of Sri Ramakrishna. On 16th August 1886, Sri Ramakrishna entered into Mahasamadhi, as you know, at Kashipur garden, night 1 o'clock. Just a few days before his Mahasamadhi, Sri Ramakrishna was in Kashipur. He was sleeping on his bed. As you know, he had contracted cancer, a very uncurable disease at that time. Even now it is incurable. That time there was absolutely no medicine for that. And he was suffering from cancer. And Swami Vivekananda, who had not yet adopted sannyasa, his name was Narendra. And Naren and other of his colleagues, most of them were students, young students. They were trying to serve Sri Ramakrishna in Kashipur. And when Naren was serving Sri Ramakrishna, suddenly a doubt entered into his mind. People say that Sri Ramakrishna is an incarnation of God. He is God incarnate. And this is the condition of the God incarnate. He is screaming. He is having so much of pain in the throat that he is crying and screaming. Can he be an incarnation of God? No, I don't think so. Such a miserable plight of an incarnation of God, I am not going to believe. Let them say, let other people, other devotees, let them say that he is an incarnation of God. I am not going to believe it. And suddenly a doubt entered into his mind, though he used to respect Sri Ramakrishna. Over a period of 5 years, he had seen the purity of Sri Ramakrishna. He had seen the various powers of Sri Ramakrishna, and yet this doubt entered into his mind. And suddenly a thought came to his mind. At present, he is suffering so much that he is screaming out of pain. At this time, if he can tell from his own mouth that yes, I am an incarnation of God, then only I will believe. Otherwise, I am not going to believe that he is an incarnation of God. And what a strange thing. As soon as that thought came in the mind of Naren, Sri Ramakrishna looked at him and said, Naren, Ekono Vishwas? Ekono Vishwas? Je Ram, Je Krishna, Sei Ramakrishna, Tor Vedantic dik diye noy. One who was Rama, one who was Krishna, has now become Ramakrishna, not in the Vedantic sense. According to Vedanta, everybody is incarnation of God. Aham Brahmasmi, everybody is Brahman, Tattamasi. No, not in that sense. In a spatial sense, where the Lord says, I come myself, incarnate myself. I, as it were, through my Maya, adopt a human body and make the play of a human being in order to protect the righteous people, in order to establish righteousness in the world. This is what Sri Ramakrishna himself told. And then Naren became so much ashamed, he immediately went and prostrated, Lord, please forgive me. So many times, I have got your grace, and yet my rascal mind is so devilish that it once again and again gets into this stage of doubt. I will not now any more doubt. And he caught hold of his hand, out of his feet, Sri Ramakrishna. Out of his realization, later on, when Narendranath became Swami Vivekananda, he wrote a beautiful stotra. Achandala pratihatarayo yasya prema pravaho lokatitopyaha jaho loka kalyana margam. There he says that the person who was born as Sri Rama and the person who was born as Sri Krishna, he has taken the form of Sri Ramakrishna. And not only that, in that stotra, he has articulated his feelings that one who was Rama, one who was Krishna, has become Ramakrishna. Not only that, once Girish Chandra Ghosh, the famous poet and the dramatist of Bengal, very famous dramatist of his own times, once he said, Naren Bhai, I have to make a request. Swami Vivekananda said, GC, why do you talk like this? GC, Girish Chandra Ghosh, Swamiji used to call him GC and used to respect him because he was elder by age. He says, GC, why do you talk like that? You are a respectable person. You should give me order. Whatever order you will give me, I'll accept it. Why do you call that request? Then Girish Chandra Ghosh said, you see, Naren Bhai, my dear Naren, God has given you tremendous power of expression, wonderful power of expression. And you can speak, you can give such nice speeches, you can write so many things. So, you've got tremendous power. So, it is my desire that you should write a biography of Sri Ramakrishna. And Swami Viji immediately replied, you see, GC, I agree with your first point. I really feel inside me so much of power sometimes that I feel that I can take the whole earth like a small ball and throw it at a distance. So much of power I feel within myself. But I don't agree with the second proposition. I cannot write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. I am powerless. After all, how much I have understood. If at all, you can make an estimate of the infinite Brahman, but to know the greatness of the infinite greatness of Sri Ramakrishna is beyond one's comprehension. Do you mean to say that I should make an image of a monkey while trying to make an image of Shiva? There is a proverb in Bengali, Shiver Murti Godte Giye, Baner Murti Godlo. One person was told to prepare a statue of Shiva. Ultimately what he ended up was the image of a monkey. So do you want to say that I should be like that? No. I am not going to attempt that. That is beyond my power. If you tell me to take the earth, whole earth in my hand and throw it at a distance like a ball, that I can do. But don't tell, I will not be able to comprehend or speak about the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. And really, he did not write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. Later on, Swami Shardanand wrote the biography of Sri Ramakrishna, that in Bengali, Sri Ramakrishna Lila Prasanga, which has been again translated into English, Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master. Of course, the other biographies have come out by Christopher Shrewd, Ramakrishna and his disciples and all that. But the basic book, authentic book is Sri Ramakrishna Lila Prasanga, written by Swami Shardanand. Swami Vivekananda did not write any biography. But he did two things. Number one, he wrote a hymn. He wrote a hymn in honor of Sri Ramakrishna, and he left nothing unsaid in that hymn. Every day, or when, I do not know every day whether you're doing or not, in most of our centers, whether affiliated or non-affiliated, even in the houses of many devotees, every day evening they have got Vesper service. At that time they sing Khandana, Bhavabandhana, Jagavandana Vanditomai. In that hymn, about Sri Ramakrishna's glory, about Sri Ramakrishna's greatness, everything has been told. Nothing has been, as if nothing has been remaining untold. In one small stotra, Swami Vijay has almost exhausted all what he wanted to say, and wonderful description of the greatness, of the great qualities. It is as it were the best meditation on the great qualities of Sri Ramakrishna and the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. Today there is no time for me to go into the details to give you the meaning of that stotra, but it is full of so deep meaning. When I was in Rajkot, our head of the center suggested that, every day, every week you are taking discourse, you are giving discourses on Kathamrita, that is the gospel. Some of the devotees are telling that every day they are singing this Khandana Vandana, but they do not know the meaning. So why don't you take 1 or 2 classes on that, the hymn, and later on you can continue with the gospel. I said, okay. So I started the Khandana Vandana, the first sentence itself is not ending. It went on, and 1 year it went on every week. With great difficulty I had to end. That means there is so much of depth, so much of meaning within this one stotra. Swami Vivekananda has exhausted everything that he wanted to say about Swami Sri Ramakrishna. Today there is no time to go for that stotra, but then one thing is there, the divine qualities of Sri Ramakrishna have been brought out into all that what I told later on came in the form of a book in Gujarati, but it has yet to be translated into other languages. And another thing that Swami Vivekananda did was, he, as I told you, he composed one shloka which came out of his lips, that is Sthapakaya Dharmasya Sarva Dharma Sarupine Avatar Varisthaya Ramakrishnayate Nama. And there he has told how Sri Ramakrishna is the God incarnate, not only the God incarnate, the supreme God incarnate, the greatest incarnation of God. Of course, as I told you, there may be some controversy about it. What do you mean? Once Sri Ramakrishna himself said, one who was Rama, one who was Krishna became Ramakrishna. And now you are telling he is the greatest incarnate. That means Rama and Krishna are inferior to him? What do you mean to say? How do you account for that? The beautiful answer was given by Swami Vireshwaranandji, the 10th president of Ramakrishna Math and Mission. He was asked this question, that how is it possible, how Swami Vivekananda could tell Avatar Varishtha. And if his Avatar Varishtha here, Sri Ramakrishna himself is saying, one was Rama, one was Krishna, came in the form of Ramakrishna, and other hand you say that he was the greatest incarnation. Does it mean that Rama and Krishna were inferior to him? Then Swami Vireshwaranji said, you know, I will try to explain to you it's very difficult matter to understand, but I will tell you a simile. He said, you know, there is one actor. This actor is a very famous actor, very popular actor. He is giving his acting in various dramas. And in every drama, he plays very, very nice role. And everywhere he says, oh, this actor is wonderful. In this drama, oh, very nice. He played very nice. This drama also, his performance was very nice. This drama also, his performance was nice. But in this performance, oh, he was at his best. He was at his best. Similarly, it is the same actor. Actor is not different. But in particular drama, he was at his best. So the same Lord came in the form of Rama, came in the form of Shri Krishna. But when he came in the form of Shri Ramakrishna, oh, he was at his best. And that is why Swami Vivekananda says, Shri Ramakrishna is the greatest incarnation of God, the most perfect incarnation of God, the latest incarnation of God, and that is why he is the best incarnation of God. Latest and the most perfect. You know, when you go for purchasing clothes, garments, you want to go for the latest fashionable garments. Latest and the most perfect. So you want everything latest. You want latest design. You want latest models of mobiles, latest models of gadgets, latest models of car, latest and the most perfect. So Sri Ramakrishna is the latest incarnation and the most perfect incarnation. He solved the problems of the modern society. That is why for the modern society, we can say that he has played his best. That does not mean that Sri Krishna or Sri Rama were inferior. No. For the present age, he was at his best, and the role he played was best for this for the present society. For solving the problems of the present society, he was at his best, latest and the most perfect incarnation of God. And what do we find? When we compare his life with the lives of Rama and Krishna, we find so many similarities. Today we confine ourselves not to Rama but to Sri Krishna, because the title is Sri Krishna and Ramakrishna. Now what do we find? The first thing that strikes us is that Sri Krishna told, I incarnate myself. The Lord incarnates himself and he takes up the human form. But when he takes up a human form, he comes in a very extraordinary way. He does not come to take birth like ordinary human beings. So we find Devaki, he comes in the womb of Devaki. When Devaki is in the prison house, at that time he is born in a prison. Shri Krishna is born in a prison. And that also in a divine way, not an ordinary human way, he incarnates himself. And what do we find in the life of Sri Ramakrishna? Sri Ramakrishna also comes to this earth in a divine way, not an ordinary human way. As you know, those who have read the biography of Sri Ramakrishna, how his father Khudiram Chattopadhyay had gone to Gaya, a place of pilgrimage in Bihar, and when he, after finishing his pilgrimage, after finishing his whatever duties were to be performed, Gaya, they go for giving the Pindadan, Shraddha ceremony. He was sleeping. At night, he got a dream of Gadadhar Vishnu. in the temple, Gaya temple, there is Gadadhar Vishnu. He is the deity there. Gadadhar Vishnu appeared before him and he said, Khudiram, I am very much pleased with your devotion and I would like to take birth in your house. Can you imagine the Lord telling to the devotee that I want to come to your house, incarnate myself, to take birth in your house. But Khudiram said, please do not come. Please do not come to my house. I am a very poor man. How will I feed butter and all those things to you? So don't come to my house. Can you imagine? Such a nice devotee, so guileless, so much devoted. He is folded and said, no, please do not come to my house. I will not be able to do proper service to you, and that will not be proper because I am very poor. I will not be able to feed you butter every day as Nanda Baba used to give you butter. No. But the Lord smiled and said, don't worry about food. Whatever food you will take, you will give, I will accept it. But I am not going to leave you. I am going to take birth in your house. After this experience, this dream, Khudiram came back to Kamarpukur. You know, he used to stay in Kamarpukur, a village about 80 miles away from Kolkata. When he came back, his wife, Chandramani Devi, started weeping. What happened? You say, after you left Gayadham, one day I had gone to the nearby temple of Shiva, Jugi Shiva. This temple is called Jugi Shiva. Jugi is a caste. So that Shiva was worshipped by a particular caste called Jugi. Jugi their Shiva. So that small, very small temple, even now the temple is there. If you go to Kamarpukur for a pilgrimage, you will find out just by the side of the ashrama, just outside the boundary line, there is a very small temple of Shiva. He said, when I had gone there, and suddenly the linga, the phallus, the image of Shiva became alive. And it became full of light, and that light entered into my womb and I became unconscious, and from that time I am feeling that I will have a child. I am carrying a child in my womb. And when I told this to other people, they started laughing at me. They say, at the age of 65 your mind has already gone out and you will be, if don't tell others, they will put you into a mental hospital. At this age, you say that you have a womb, and then this also, you look at Shiva, and then from there is a light comes and it enters into your womb and you get pregnant. Or don't talk all these types of nonsensical things, otherwise people put you into the mental hospital. But then she started saying, but I really feel that I am carrying a child from that time and I am feeling pregnant. Then Khudiram said, don't worry. I also got a vision. The Lord said that I'll come to your house, and I think the Lord is coming to our house really, and don't worry. So let us pray and let us be more devoted, and that is how Sri Ramakrishna was born. And his name was given Gadadhar because Gadadhar Vishnu has told that I will come to your house. So the child was given the name Gadadhar, and people used to call him Gadai out of affection. And all this Leela, all the types of sports, the type of activities that were carried out by very small child called Gadai in Kamarpukur. If you go through these descriptions, you will find there is nothing different. They are nothing different from the description that we get in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th skandha, how Sri Krishna had done in Gokula, his Bal Leela as a child, how Sri Krishna acted, and how all the people in Vraja, in Gokula, so many people, they used to love Gopal or Kanaiya so much. Similarly, Gadai became the favorite of all the women in the whole of Kamarpukur. So the Bal Leela of Sri Ramakrishna was nothing different from the Bal Leela of Sri Krishna. And we get so many similarities. Later on, Sri Ramakrishna, many had the visions where they could get the vision of Sri Krishna in Sri Ramakrishna. For example, Bhairavi Brahmani, you might have read the biography how Bhairavi Brahmani one day, she was making some offering to her Gopala, an image of Gopala, and she saw that Sri Ramakrishna is taking that food. And she could understand that Gopala and Sri Ramakrishna are not different. Then Gopala, her mother, wonderful story of that old woman who used to look upon Sri Ramakrishna as a baby Gopal. And Sri Ramakrishna would come to her and like Yashoda, the Gopalar Ma would feed Sri Ramakrishna because she used to have that vision that Sri Krishna and Ramakrishna are not different. There are so many such examples where so many devotees have seen. Even Sitanath Pai's house, he was a rich man. His house was in Kamarpukur. All the family members used to look upon Gadai as nothing but Kanaiya or nothing but Krishna and used to worship him. So likewise we find that many people had the vision, many people had the realization that Sri Krishna and Sri Ramakrishna are not different. And so what Sri Ramakrishna told, one who was Rama, one who was Krishna, came in the form of Ramakrishna. But mind you, Sri Krishna came in Dwapara thousands of years back. That time the situation was different. That time the society was different. That time the problems of the society were different. And Sri Ramakrishna came in our age and the problems were entirely different. So the type of activities, the type of message given by Sri Ramakrishna, the type of activities performed by Sri Ramakrishna are entirely different from what Sri Krishna said. And yet we find some of the similarities. We are trying to just think over the similarities. There are many dissimilarities, but then ultimately we find both Sri Krishna and Sri Ramakrishna both have come for the good of the world, for saving the world, for establishing righteousness, dharma, and for removing the vices of the society. So the aim is the same, but the type of activities are different, the type of message is different depending upon the type of society. But we find so many similarities in the sports that is played or in the activities that is performed by Ramakrishna and Krishna, even though they were separated by thousands of years in terms of time period. And Sri Ramakrishna, he also had practiced various types of religions. And as you know, he worshipped Mother Kali, he had the vision of Mother Kali. And then he underwent various types of sadhana. One of the spiritual practices he underwent was Madhur Bhav. Madhur Bhav is sadhana. The spiritual practice of Madhur Bhav. Madhur Bhav in the sense that when the devotee looks upon the Lord as his or her beloved. So Sri Ramakrishna used to regard himself as Radha and he used to worship Sri Krishna as her paramour. Can you imagine? For 6 months, Sri Ramakrishna dressed like a woman, performed every activity like a woman, and even anatomically, there was transformation in his body, so much so that Sri Ramakrishna was very much respected by the son-in-law of Rani Rashmani. And Rani Rashmani had a mansion in Calcutta, and once there was Durga Puja. So for Durga Puja, he had Mathur Babu had called Sri Ramakrishna to partake in his worship, and Sri Ramakrishna was waving in front of Mother Durga, waving with a chamar. like as you know, have a chavar here, waving the chavar before Durga Puja, before Durga Ma. And he was wearing the dress of a woman. And then Mathur Babu, he asked his wife, Jagdamba, no, there was one beautiful woman by your side and she was worshipping Durga Devi. Who is she? I saw her for the first time. And then Jagdamba laughed. You could not recognize our Baba, Ramakrishna Dev. Oh, he was Baba, huh? So much he underwent transformation. And he used to really regard himself as Radha, Sri Ramakrishna, and he had a vision of Krishna and later on as Radha. So, not only that, many times Sri Ramakrishna had the vision of Krishna. Once he had gone to, called Maidan in Calcutta. There's a big ground, open ground, that is called Maidan. And there by the side of the Maidan, there was a tree. Under the tree he saw a small boy who was standing with one leg crossed, as if Sri Krishna, like Sri Krishna. And he had the vision that he is Krishna himself. And likewise, Sri Ramakrishna had a lot of visions. When he went to Vrindavan, when Sri Ramakrishna went for a pilgrimage to Vrindavan, he used to feel the presence of Sri Krishna everywhere. In the evening, by the side of the Yamuna, he would weep, "Oh Krishna, where are you?" When he saw so many cows are coming. And there he was so much saturated with Krishna consciousness that day and night he would repeat Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. There was one lady devotee, a very old woman called Ganga Mata, highly devoted. She could recognize that he is not an ordinary soul. And she could recognize that no. He was a companion of Radhika, Sakhi of Radhika. So, Ganga Mata developed so much affection, so much respect and so much affection for Sri Ramakrishna that Ganga Mata said, I will build a small hut for you by the side of my hut and you will stay here and both of you will stay together and both of you will worship Sri Krishna as maids or friends of Sri Krishna like Radha. As Sakhi of Radha. Both of us are Sakhi of Radha. Both of us will worship Sri Krishna and both of us will stay in Vrindavan. And Sri Ramakrishna was also so much charmed by the atmosphere of Vrindavan and by the devotion of Ganga Mata. Then he decided, okay, I'll stay on here. Hridaynath, Sri Ramakrishna's nephew, Hridaynath, used to accompany him. He was his sevak. When Sri Ramakrishna declared that, no, I am not going back to Calcutta. I'll stay here in Vrindavan in the company of Sri Krishna. Then Hriday said, no, we have to go to Calcutta. Ganga Mata says, no, he will not go to Calcutta, he will stay with me here. So one side, Ganga Mata is holding the hand of Sri Ramakrishna, one hand, and another hand is being dragged by Hriday Ram. This is the situation that happened. Suddenly Sri Ramakrishna remembered his mother. My mother Chandramani Devi. If I stay on here, then Chandramani Devi, my mother, she will have pain in her heart. As soon as she remembered his mother, Sri Ramakrishna made up his mind, no, I will have to go back to Calcutta. And that is how he came back to Calcutta. But once upon a time, he was so much saturated with the feelings of Sri Krishna that he wanted to remain there in Vrindavan. Now a question arises. Sri Krishna, as per his promise, he destroyed so many demons, killed so many demons. Right from childhood he is killing demons and demons and demons. So many demons he killed. And he had Sudarshan Chakra. With his Sudarshan Chakra, the weapon, he killed so many demons. Right from his childhood. But in the Ramakrishna, when we see his photograph, look at his photograph, absolutely no weapon. Ramchandra has got at least an arrow. Sri Krishna has got Sudarshan Chakra. But no weapon with Ramakrishna, just sitting like an ordinary human being. Where is the weapon? How can you look upon him as God? Girish Chandra Ghosh used to say No, our Lord Sri Ramakrishna also got a weapon. What is that weapon? Then he used to say, Sri Ramakrishna had a special weapon. And the name of that weapon is Pranam Astra. Pranam Astra, the weapon of salutation. What is that? Go to the background. Sri Ramakrishna once, he said, I will go to witness a drama called Chaitanya Lila in Star Theatre. And Girish Chandra Ghosh was the owner of that Star Theatre at the time. Devotee said, what? You are a saint and you will go for witnessing a drama? Don't you know that all the acting is being done by the women there? That time, you know, even the role of man used to be played by women. And those women, actresses, used to be looked upon very much by the society. They were looked upon as almost, you know, the way we look upon prostitutes, something like that. The actresses used to be looked down. Now it's a different thing. Now people are keeping the photographs of the actresses and they have become celebrities. They call the actresses for inaugurating something. They keep the big photographs of the actresses. It's very strange. But that time, the actresses were looked down. So they asked Sri Ramakrishna, what? You will go to witness a drama? He said, what? What's the matter? I will look upon them, all these actresses, as manifestation of my divine mother Anandamayi. Ami oder moddhe amar ma Anandamayi ke dekhbo. I will look upon all these actresses as the divine mother Anandamayi. And he went there. When he went there, along with the other disciples, on a horse carriage, when the horse carriage stopped, other devotees, they went to Girish Chandra Ghosh. You see, Ramakrishna Paramahansa Mahashaya Shichan, Ramakrishna Paramahansa has come to witness the drama. Will you not give him a free ticket? Yes, I will give him. Okay, I will give him. See, Girish Chandra Ghosh, first of all, he was an atheist. In his childhood, he had broken the image of Durga with his own hands. And he did not believe in God. And he was a drunkard of the highest degree. Because he was a poet, he used to say, you see the number of bottles of wine that I have drunk, if you put one above the other, it will surpass Mount Everest. That is the number of bottles of wine, he said himself has told. And he said, not a single evil act in this world. Whatever can be done, I have done everything. I have left nothing undone. So, Girish Ghosh, he did not believe in religion and he did not believe in saints. He used to look down upon them. So, he said, no. What of that? Okay. I'll give one ticket for Paramahansa Mahashaya, but other devotees will have to purchase the ticket. Okay. Then they said, will you not come down to receive Ramakrishna Paramahansa? What? Your Paramahansa is so great that I have to go and receive him? Okay, I'll go. He came down. And Sri Ramakrishna, when he came down from the horse carriage, as soon as he came down, he made salutations to Girish Chandra Ghosh like this. Now Girish Ghosh was in a fix, because he would never do any salutation to any saint. He never believed in any saint or in religion. But here is the saint himself doing salutation. So out of courtesy, I must pay back that salutation. So out of courtesy, what to do? So he also did like this. He did pranam, salutation. He made a salutation. When he did like this, Sri Ramakrishna bowed down and did another salutation. My God, such a great saint, and he is bowing down and making salutation. For the sake of courtesy, he also bowed down for the first time in his life to a saint. Then Sri Ramakrishna further bowed down right up to the knees and made salutation. Girish Ghosh said, I am not going to do it. I am defeated by your pranamastra. So that is the pranamastra. Sri Rama, Sri Krishna, they killed the demons by their astra. But Sri Ramakrishna had pranamastra. He did not kill the demons. He converted the hearts of the demons and made them saints. Sri Girish Chandra Ghosh himself used to say, if you want to know the Mahima, the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna, don't look at Swami Vivekananda. That if Swami Vivekananda is so great, then his guru must have been much greater. You will not be able to come to know, the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna by looking at the life of Swami Vivekananda. Because Swami Vivekananda in his pre-monastic days was already a brilliant student, coming from a good house, good family, the son of a lawyer, a high court advocate, coming from a good educated and very cultured family. To convert the son of a cultured family to a saint like Swami Vivekananda is not a big deal. But to convert a rascal like me, a drunkard like me, who has drunk so many bottles of wine that if you put one above the other, it will surpass even the Mount Everest. So much of wine I have drunk, and nothing I have kept undone. Such an evil person like me, even such an evil person like me, he has converted into a saint. That is the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. Otherwise, you will not come to know the glory of Sri Ramakrishna. If you want to know the glory of Sri Ramakrishna, look at me, this Girish. And really he became a saint. In his later days, the same Girish, who had done so many evil acts, later on he became a saint. And people used to respect him. And then he left his body while taking the name of the Lord. And he entered into Mahasamadhi. And that is why Girish Ghosh used to say, look, if you want to know the Mahima or the glory of Sri Ramakrishna, don't look at Swami Vivekananda, look at my life. So Sri Ramakrishna, what did he do? Like Krishna or Rama, he did not kill the demons, but he converted their lives. And he made them into saints. He converted sinners into saints. That was the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. And that is why he is Avatar Varishta. Sri Ramakrishna had he had 16 direct disciples whose photographs are here. They were all sannyasi disciples. Apart from that, he had many household disciples and he had many women disciples also. One of the women disciples was Yogin Ma. Now, Yogin Ma's brother, he never liked his sister going to Dakshineshwar so many times, frequently, and going to a saint called Ramakrishna Paramahansa, half mad. He didn't like it. Now, one day, Ramakrishna was to come to Yogin Ma's house. So, Yogin Ma's brother thought, let me teach a lesson to this Paramahansa, और सब परमहंसगिरी सब भूले जाबे एमन करबो सब परमहंसगिरी सब चले जाबे और I will do such an exam, he will forget all about his Paramahansagiri. I will teach him a lesson. So, he caught hold of a scoundrel, Manmat Gunda. He was a Gunda, he was a scoundrel, very notorious Gunda of that whole locality. And he called him, so you give him such a nice beating, this Paramahansa, that he will forget all about his Paramahansagiri. So, he had already told Manmat Gunda to be ready. As soon as Sri Ramakrishna comes, nice beating. You give such a nice beating that he would never come to my house, never come even in this whole area itself. Now, Sri Ramakrishna came, he sat down, and as per the plans of this Hiralal, that is brother of Yoginma, Hiralal made a sign, now you come, he has already sat here, come for nice beating. He gave a signal. And Manmat Gunda came, that notorious gangster. He came from just the opposite door. As soon as he was entering, Sri Ramakrishna looked at him and gave a divine smile. And the love, the arrows of love that shoot from his eyes went straight to the eyes of Manmatha. And that was all. He just came down, he had come to beat him, made Sashtanga Pranam. Full length he made a prostration. Hiralal, the brother of Yoginma, was surprised. I had told him to beat him and he is doing salutation. Not only that, afterwards, Sri Ramakrishna just touched him and that was all. He started weeping, tears came out. And hardly he met 2 or 3 times afterwards Sri Ramakrishna, this Manmatha. But his whole life got transformed. Even when Baranagar, when Ramakrishna Mission was started, he used to go sometimes to Baranagar. But he had already become a monk. He took up the gerua, he took up a saffron cloth, and day and night he used to repeat, Priyanath, 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 my beloved Ramakrishna, my beloved Ramakrishna, my beloved Ramakrishna. Day and night he used to repeat. And taking the name of Priyanath, Priyanath, he left his body, became immortal. Sri Ramakrishna, one who was Krishna, came in the form of Ramakrishna. When he came in the form of Krishna, at that time it was very much required to kill the demons called Kansa and so many other demons. He killed them and brought peace to the world. In this age, Sri Ramakrishna came. He did not kill the sinners. He did not kill the evil people, but he converted them to saints. And that is why Sri Ramakrishna called him Avatara Varishtha. For the present age, he has carried out. And what are the demons Sri Ramakrishna has killed? He has not killed a demon. From that point of view that we are thinking, he only converted sinners into saints, but he also killed the demons. What are the demons killed by Sri Ramakrishna? We know the demons. We know the demons killed by Sri Krishna. We know his divine lila. So many demons were killed, even in very young age. Krishna has killed so many Rakshasas and Rakshasis, Putana, and so many other Rakshasas, and also many demons, and also evil person like Kansa. When he comes in the form of Ramakrishna, what are the demons he has killed? So many demons he killed. But I will just now, because the time is ending, I will tell about 3 demons that he killed. Number 1 demon he killed was, which was very much necessary in the present age, was Sansaya Rakshasa. And that is why Swami Vivekananda in his stotra says, Sansaya Rakshasa Nasha Mahastram Yami Gurum Sharanam Bhava Vaidyam Shakti Samudha Tarangam Darshita Prema Vijrumbhita Rangam Sanshaya Rakshasa Nasha Mahastram Yami Gurum Sharanam Bhava Vaidyam. I bow down my head at the feet of Bhava Vaidya, the doctor, Vaidya, who removes Bhava Roga, who gives us salvation. Such type of doctor, such type of great person, such type of guru, such type of teacher, I bow down to him. And then, who is the Sansaya Rakshasa Nasa Mahastram? He killed the demon called Sanshaya, doubt, suspicion. This is the present age. This is an age of science. And the present age is the age of science when we have lost our faith in God. When we have lost our faith in religion. It is at this juncture that it was very much required that to reestablish faith in religion and God. So, Sri Ramakrishna came to reestablish religion and he killed Sanshaya Rakshasa, which has already permeated in all of us. This Sansaya Rakshasa is in the mind of every modern man. If we analyze our lives, why are we so miserable? The only cause of our misery is that we have lost our faith in God. And why we have lost faith in God? Because in the age of science, this is the speciality of this scientific age, that we will be not able to believe or have faith because it is an age of science. We want to reason out. We want to believe. And that is why, on behalf of all of us, on behalf of all the modern men, Swami Vivekananda, who was a student at that time, he started questioning everybody. Have you seen God? I don't believe in God. I am a modern man. I am a man of the scientific age. I won't believe in God just because you are telling that God is God. Where is the documentary evidence? I am the son of a lawyer. I am a modern man. You give me the documentary evidence. Have you seen God? Nobody could reply, as I told you the other day. But Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, I have seen God. Not only that, I am seeing Him more intensely than I am seeing you. Not only that, if you want, you can also see Him. I can make you see Him. But you have to enter this laboratory of spiritual practices. That is science of religion. Science says H2 plus O2 is equal to H2. Hydrogen, oxygen gas mixed with water. I don't believe. How is it possible? Hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is a gas. How can it give water? It's not a question of belief. Come to the laboratory, have a laboratory process. And if you don't get water out of hydrogen and oxygen, then you tell, I don't believe. Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna says, I have seen God. You too can see Him, but you have to enter spiritual practices. And Swami Vivekananda, Narendranath, he accepted the challenge. And then he also realized God. And that is why in this present age of science, in this present age of doubt, in this present age when Sanshaya Rakshasa has entered everyone's heart, at that time it was very much required that Sri Ramakrishna should kill that Sanshaya Rakshasa. And he killed that Sanshaya Rakshasa of all the human beings by killing the Sanshaya Rakshasa of Naren, who was our representative of the modern age. Second, he killed another Rakshasa. And what is that Rakshasa? That Rakshasa is the Rakshasa of fanaticism. That is, there is so much of turbulence in the world. There is so much of bloodshed in the name of religion. And there was so much of disharmony among all the religions. And that is why, so it was very much required, this Rakshasa, this demon of fanaticism should be killed. And what did he do? He practiced himself all the religions by turn. Hinduism, Islam, Christianity. And then he said, I have practiced all religions. And then at the end, I had a realization of supreme reality. I had a transcendental experience. In that transcendental experience, I found out that it was only one experience, not two. And so he said, Joto mot, toto pot. As many faiths, so many paths. This teaching of Sri Ramakrishna is very relevant for the modern age, when so many religions are quarreling with each other and trying to cut each other's throat. Even as on today, in this civilized world, civilized has yet to begin. Whatever is happening, whatever happened yesterday, what happened on 9/11, in 2001, in New York, the Trade World Center gone, even as in today, what is happening, what happened yesterday, everywhere you find such incidents are happening. If you go deep into the problem, you will find out this bloodshed, or this lack of this turbulence and all this destruction is because of the quarreling of religions between themselves. This fanaticism is at the root of all these miseries of the humanity. As Samuel P. Huntington says in his book, The Clash of Civilizations and Remaking of a World Order, that most of the clashes between countries and between societies is not the clashes between countries, but these are the clashes between civilizations, the clashes between religions, Islam and Christianity and others. And that is why it was very much necessary that an incarnation should come, God Himself should come and tell that no, all religions are equally true. And they can all independently lead to the same true goal. But your path may be different, so my path may be different. So there is no need of conversion. You follow your own religion, For you, your religion is best. For him, his religion is best. For her, her religion is best. You follow your own religion. All religions, when they are great, why do you want to get converted? All religions are equally true. You follow your own religion, go to the fundamentals, practice this religion, and go to the topmost, go to the epitome of religion, and then you will get the goal. You need not change the religion. So this particular message, where he killed the Rakshasa, the demon of fanaticism, that is a very important part to play. And third demon is the demon of consumerism, upabhoktavad, bhogvad, materialism. The demon of materialism has entered into our family, into our home, into our society, in America, in India, in many other countries. This demon has entered. You can find out for yourself. Every day we want new gadgets, we have already got 2 cars, 3rd car. Affluence has come. Affluence is nothing but the perverted form of consumerism. And this consumerism has already come, it is because of materialism, where we think that H is directly proportional to M, where H is equal to happiness and M is equal to money. The greater the money, the greater will be the happiness, which is, of course, not the case. But we feel, and that is why we are running mad after money, we are running mad after products of so many things. And that is the consumerism, that is the spirit of materialism that is prevailing all over the world. That is why the Lord had to come in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. What did he do? In one hand, he took coins, money. Another hand, he took the earth, that is the dust from the Ganges. Taka, mati. Mati, taka. Taka, mati. Mati, taka. In Bengali, mati is the dust. Taka, money. Both are the same. Mentally, he told his mind, this money is nothing but dust. Dust, dust. Money is dust, dust is money. And threw into the Ganges. Every day. While practicing this, at long last, in his subconscious mind, this thought entered into his mind, so much so, he became so much averse to money, not only to money, because that time money was not in notes, it was in coins. And he became so much averse to money that not only coins, but any metal, if it touched his body, unconsciously, even then, his hands would shiver, and as if a scorpion has stung him, that type of pain he would feel just by the touch of a metal, not to say of the touch of a coin. When this thing was told, when it came to the notice of Narendranath, who later became Swami Vivekananda, he became very much dissatisfied. He told, you devotees, you always spoil your guru like this. You also exaggerate so many things, and this is how you spoil your guru, you spoil your teacher. You may say that our teacher, Sri Ramakrishna, is so great that he doesn't go after money, and he has given up money, and that is, he has given up his fascination for money. I can understand that. And you can also say that he doesn't keep money. I can understand that. You can say that he doesn't keep any bank account. I can understand that. He doesn't store any money. I can understand that. But why do you go to such length that if a coin touches him and his hands become so much twisted and as if a scorpion has stung him, something like that happens, why do you go for exaggeration? He didn't like that. One day it so happened that Narendranath had come to meet Sri Ramakrishna. When he came to his room was vacant. He found Sri Ramakrishna had gone to Panchvati side along with his disciples, along with the devotees. So suddenly an idea struck him. Well, this is the right time to test this greatness, to find out all the hollowness of the great Guru, I will find out the truth. The idea entered into him. So immediately what did he do? He just saw whether anybody is there or not. Nobody is there. He took out a coin from his pocket and put inside under the bed. There was a bed. Under the bed there was a mat. Under the mat he kept that coin and stood there just to find out. Let us see what happens. Today I will be able to declare that this fellow is a farce. Unnecessarily he makes a farce. So he was doing like that. He will say that he is going to win the game. He knew. After some time, Sri Ramakrishna came and with his devout disciples. As soon as he sat down on the cot, suddenly he got a shock, as if a scorpion has stung him. So then the disciples thought, nothing is there in the bed, whether there is some insect, nothing is there. No, nothing is there, please sit down. Again he got a shock, as if a scorpion has stung him. Then the disciples removed the bed, removed the mat, and they found one coin there. Who has placed this coin under this tent? Everybody started. Sri Ramakrishna started looking everywhere. Who is it? Then he saw Narendranath is standing like this with his head down because he has been found out. And Sri Ramakrishna became very happy. Oh my child, you have done the right thing. You must test your master and then accept him. You have done the right thing. He was not annoyed. Rather he became happy. Yes, do not accept any guru, anyone as your guru. Before examining him, you have done the right thing. This is how Swami Vivekananda tested him. Then only he wrote down Khandana Bhavana, and then he wrote down Tyagishwara, He Naravara, Dehopade Anurag. Tyagishwara, he is the emperor of all the renouncing persons, of all the monks, of all those who have given up. He is epitome of renunciation, a king among all the renouncers. That is Sri Ramakrishna. Not only renouncing, that is Kanchana, but Sri Ramakrishna used to talk about Kamini Kanchana. So, not only the desire for wealth, but also desire for lust. He was purity incarnate. And so what did he do? As for the rules, Sri Ramakrishna, when he became very much devoted, then the idea, the news came to Kamarpukur, to his mother Chandramani Devi, that your son has gone mad. Day and night he is telling mother, 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 and taking the name of the Lord. Chandramani was very much alarmed and immediately called him to Kamarpukur. So Sri Ramakrishna came to Kamarpukur. He saw, oh, he's a normal person. They are unnecessarily telling that he has gone mad. He's a normal person. Only one thing is there, the day and night he is taking the name of the Lord, which is not good, He's a young person. He must go for worldly things, even now also. So many youngsters, when they start coming to the ashrama for getting some good samskaras, their parents, they get alarmed. My God, there's something wrong. And this is the age for, going for enjoyments. He's going in a reverse direction. Similarly, mother became very much alarmed. So, she called a meeting of all the elderly people. What should be done? This is a very difficult type of thing that has come. My son is becoming so much addicted to God and taking the name of the Lord. By that time, her husband had already died. That is, the father of Sri Ramakrishna already died. So she called all the elderly people. All the elderly people said, you see, the best solution for such types of problem is to get him married. As soon as he gets married, because of Maya, he will forget God and all the problems solved. And Mother Chandramani said, that is a very good solution. Now get him married. But during those times, the marriage was very difficult in India. Chat mangni pat bya. Nowadays, sometimes, just propose and you get married. No, like that. They belong to a very high caste Brahmin family and the girl has to be like that. And they used to match, kundali. And all those things, almanac, that they will see all those things, kundalini and all that. It has to match. So she was searching for a bride. And one day she was very much anxious. At that time, Sri Ramakrishna, my dear mother, why are you so anxious? You are anxious because of the marriage of this person? He never said mine. Sri Ramakrishna was so much egoless that he would say this one. For this, you are worried about this, marriage of this person? Then Chandramani became very much alarmed. Who has told all these things to? Because they were trying to silently do it so that he doesn't come to know. Because she thought if he comes to know that he is going to get married, he will fly away and run away again to Calcutta. So everything was being done very silently. But he is come to know. He said, you are thinking, you are worried about my marriage? Because you are not getting the proper match? Why are you so much worried? The girl for me is already reserved in the house of Ramchandra Mukhopadhyay, in the village Jairambati. Chandramani said, what? I have gone 10 miles away and there is no girl available, and here this Jairambati only 3 miles away. But then she found out. Let us try to find out when he is telling. First of all, she was very much worried when he will not agree to get married. But here he is not only trying to get married, but is also showing a girl also. Very good. Then they found out, yes, there is a girl, everything is matching, the kundli is matching, very high family. Here it is Chattopadhyay, there is Mukhopadhyay, both are high family, everything is okay. Only one thing problem is there, the girl is very young in age. How much young? Only 5 years. And Sri Ramakrishna at that time was 23 years. This I am telling so that you don't think that he had a love marriage. It was not a love marriage, it was a divine marriage. Just as Rama came with Sita, Krishna came with Radha, Ramakrishna came with Sharda Devi. So Sharda Devi was married, but after 5 years, marriage, after a few days, Sharda Devi went to Jairambati, Ramakrishna went to Dakshineshwar. Again he got absorbed into all types of spiritual practices. Whatever it is. At the age of 18 years, Sharda Devi became a little of age. She used to go to that pond for taking water. That time in Jairambati, no taps of water or municipality. So he had to go to fetch water. And then as it happens, she had so many girlfriends and all of them would tease Sharda Devi. You see Sharda, she has already got married, but her husband is madcap, fully mad. Day and night he is taking the name of the Lord and is not taking care of Sharda Devi, his wife also. Hey Saru, oh Saru, did you get some news from your husband? No news. Oh, poor Saru, she is so unfortunate. Her husband has forgotten her. And Sharda Devi became very much disappointed, became very much, so really? Is it real that my husband has gone mad? Okay, even if it is true that he has gone mad, as a wife, is it not my duty to serve him? But now how to tell her father that, Father, I want to go to meet Sri Ramakrishna, my husband. But she told one day, Father, so many women are going to Ganga Sagar, can I go with them? So father was very intelligent. Ganga Sagar means it is to cross the Calcutta, Dakshineshwar. So she wants to meet her husband. Oh my dear daughter, I can understand you want to meet your husband. I will go with you. Come, I'll take you. And on the way, as you know, it's the story of Sharda Devi. She fell ill and she lost her hope of seeing Sri Ramakrishna. She had the vision of Mother Kali, whatever it is, at night, 9 o'clock. She reached Dakshineshwar along with her father, and she was afraid Sri Ramakrishna will scold her. Why have you come to disturb me? Instead of that, Sri Ramakrishna said, oh, you have come. Very nice, very nice. But why did you come so late? Now Mathur is not there, my Mathu, who will serve you. Mathur, the son-in-law of Rani Rasmani, used to have high regard for Sri Ramakrishna. So, and Sharda Devi started weeping. Who says my husband has become mad? He is as loving as he was at the time of marriage, and he is not telling, why have you come to disturb me? He is telling, why did you come late? And then when Sri Ramakrishna came to know that she is sick, then Sri Ramakrishna said, no, don't stay with your mother-in-law. That is Chandramani Devi, his mother. No, you stay in my room so that I can serve you. He kept Sharda Devi in his room, Sri Ramakrishna, and also served her. Now, interview started. Nowadays the interview, everything is finished before the marriage. That time it was not there. After the marriage, the interview starts. Now, Sri Ramakrishna first of all took the interview of Sharda Devi. You come here, what is the reason? Have you come here to drag me into Maya? You know, this body has been married to you, so you have got full right over this body. If you say, I will enter into the world, I will enter the worldly ways, like an ordinary husband and wife, we will have relationship and we will have children. But if you ask me, I want to lead a pure life, I want to lead the life of an ascetic, and I want to just be absorbed in God consciousness. But if you tell me, I will go for normal worldly life or normal marital life. But Sharda Devi, though she was from the village, she was so pure. She said, no, I have not come here to drag into the world. I have not come here to drag you into the world. I have only come to help you in your work. And then she said, only my request is that you are going to this spiritual path, please also take me along that spiritual path. And Sri Ramakrishna was so happy. I had prayed to Divine Mother, oh Mother, make the mind of my wife so pure that she can also lead the pure life. And he was very happy. Now, after a few days, now Sharda Devi's turn was to take the interview of Sri Ramakrishna. And Sharda Devi said, they were both alone. May I ask a question? Yes, of course. Will you tell the truth? Yes, of course. Now tell me truly, how do you look upon me? And then Sri Ramakrishna said, should I tell you the truth? You know, there is the image of Mother Kali in the temple. Have you seen that? That is Ma Bhavtarini. The same Bhavtarini. And there is my mother Chandramani Devi. She lives in Naubat Khana. Just opposite, there is a music tower. There is the Divine Mother Bhavtarini in the temple. The same mother lives there in the notch tower, that music tower, Naubat Khana. The same mother is now sitting in front of me. I truly tell you, I look upon you as Divine Mother. In the history of the world, no husband gave so much respect to his wife, but not only through mouth. On 5th June 1872, it was Falharini Kali Puja day. Sri Ramakrishna worshipped his wife as Divine Mother. He made all the arrangements of the worship of Shodashi Puja, but on the seat he did not make any image, but he told his wife Sharda Devi to sit on that seat. Whole night he worshipped Sharda Devi, and at last, Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Srishti Sthiti Vinashanam Shakti Bhute Sanatani Gunashaya Gunamai Narayani Namostute Sharanagata Dinartha Paritrana Parayane Sarvasyarthi Hare Devi Narayani Namostute. She made this pranam, she chanted this pranam mantra and prostrated himself before Sharda Devi, his wife, and both entered into superconscious state, Samadhi. When this news came to the mother of Sharda Devi, Shyama Sundari Devi, she started beating her head. Oh my God, how unfortunate I am. So far, the fellow was telling his wife as mother, now he has worshipped her as Divine Mother. And now my Sharda Devi will not, my daughter Sharda will not have a normal marital life with my son-in-law, and they will be leading a pure life. And my Sharda daughter will not have any children who will call her Ma, mother, mother, mother. How unfortunate I am. And when Sri Ramakrishna came to know of this, he said, oh my dear mother-in-law, don't worry. Afterwards, so many people will call your daughter Sharda as mother, 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 that she will become fed up with this. And really it happened. After the passing of Sri Ramakrishna, all the disciples of Ramakrishna looked upon Sharda Devi as his mother. And then Swami Vivekananda brought Miss Sister Nivedita, Miss Margaret Noble, and Miss MacLeod, and Mrs. Olibull. All of them started looking upon the mother as mother. And then so many, today millions of people are looking upon Sharda Devi as mother. She is the mother of all. Now, Sri Ramakrishna came to this world at this age when we are talking about extramarital affairs, premarital affairs. affairs, so many other types of problems which we have never heard at this age, when there is no purity in marital life, when divorces are now 70% of the marriages are converting to divorces. At that time, Sri Ramakrishna Sharda Devi give an example of an ideal marital life, where Sri Ramakrishna used to look upon, give so much respect to his wife Sharda Devi, used to look upon her as Divine Mother, and Sharda Devi used to look upon Sri Ramakrishna as God, and used to give so much respect towards Sri Ramakrishna. Both had so much respect, mutual respect. That is the type of relationship that Sri Ramakrishna and Sharda Devi had for the modern age. So Sri Ramakrishna killed the demon of materialism, Kamini Kanchan Tyag, by his great enunciation of Kamini Kanchan. He killed the demon of materialism. He killed the demon of fanaticism by practicing all religions, and he killed the demon of Rakshasa, Sanshaya Rakshasa, the demon of doubt in this modern age. And that is how one who was Rama, one who was Krishna, came in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. It is a very, very long story. Already I have exceeded time. Let us now pray at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. It is not possible for us, to even comprehend the greatness. If Swami Vivekananda says, it is impossible for me to know the greatness or the glory of Sri Ramakrishna, who are we? But let us pray at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. May he grant us that devotion, and may he grant us that faith, so we can understand a little bit of his glory, the glory of Sri Krishna, the glory of Ramakrishna. Both are one and the same God. May we be able to comprehend even a little of their glory. May we be able to follow some of the teachings that they had, particularly the teachings of surrendering ourselves to the Lord. Sarva dharman parityajye mamekam sharanam vraja aham ta sarvapapebhyo mokshishyami ma sucha. That is the teaching of Sri Krishna. That is the teaching of Ramakrishna. They have given us this hope that you surrender to God. God will take care of everything. What a wonderful message of hope and of giving us solace. Yes, I am there to take care of you. Let us surrender ourselves at the feet of the Lord. May they grant us faith. May they grant us devotion. May we surrender ourselves. May they take care of all our worries. With this prayer, let us end here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.